Good morning, everybody. Oh, someone from Port Hope Simpson. We got someone from Labrador, which is great. And Nova Scotia. Good. All right. So in the interest of time, I'm going to get it started. We have a lot to cover this morning, and people will join us as they do. We have some people from Prince Edward Island and Twillingate. So just to get things started, we will be using the webinar platform, and there is a Q&A box and a chat box there as well, but we'll have a facilitated panel discussion first, and then we'll open the floor to questions. So on behalf of the partners in Atlantic Canada in this project, which would be Tourism Nova Scotia, Tourism New Brunswick, Tourism PEI, and Tourism Newfoundland and Labrador, along with the support of ACOA, we're proud to bring you this panel discussion this morning, Building Your Business, Working with Atlantic Canada Receptive Tour Operators. Our moderator this morning is Eva Gooch from STEM Marketing and Consulting, and she is no stranger to Atlantic Canada. She has been working with us on a number of projects, so I am going to turn it over now to Eva Gooch.
Super. Thank you so much, Juanita, and welcome everyone. So fantastic. We had such great response. So as Juanita mentioned, I've done a fair bit of work in Atlantic Canada, and particularly in the area of travel trade. So some of you I would have met at the Travel Trade Readiness Workshop. And a big piece of that is working with your local Atlantic Canada-based receptive tour operators. So we're going to have a chance this morning to meet them and get their perspective on global travel and U.S. travel into Atlantic Canada, and really understand how to form partnerships with these very important RTOs. And so we look at trying to understand the opportunity for rebuilding and short-term and long-term. And the RTOs play a significant role in that. And for the suppliers, it's really looking at how to form partnerships so everyone benefits. And so that's really going to be a large perspective of what we're looking at today. And so some of the best practices will come up and some additional information to help you. At the end of the session, we will give you some information on how to connect with these important partners in Atlantic Canada. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our team here. And so I'd like to start, Okay, so I'd like you to meet Jill Curran. And Jill is an entrepreneur at heart with a real talent for building innovative companies and delivering these unforgettable experiences to travelers. She's an owner of Maximum Vacations. It's one of the leading tour operators working with independent travelers coming into Atlantic Canada. And in 2003, Ms. Kern founded Lighthouse Picnics. And you will have seen a lot of attention on this company, featured in En Route as one of the 100 favorite things in the world. Numerous awards, including the Cultural Tourism Award in 2005 and Restaurateur of the Year in 2007. And it was the #1 small business story of the year in the Globe and Mail in 2014. So certainly a significant player in Atlantic Canada. In 2018, she was awarded the Newfoundland and Labrador Organization of Women Entrepreneurs Entrepreneurial Excellence Award. And in 2016, she was awarded the prestigious Doug Wheeler Award by then the Department of Tourism, Culture, Industry, and Innovation. Ms. Curran holds a Bachelor of Arts from Memorial University of Newfoundland and a Bachelor of Public Relations from Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax. So welcome, Jill. Next on our panelist team, we have Richard Arnold. And Richard, strong, long roots in the tourism industry. He began working in a hotel in the Annapolis Valley in 1980 while attending Acadia University. And then he remained in the hotel after he graduated in convention and banquet sales, and later dining room maitre d' and food service manager. And he worked for many tour companies throughout this time and was encouraged to become a tour director. So, he's now working the entire scope of the business, from the supplier, tour director, and now a well-known tour company. It was 34 years ago when he joined Atlantic Tours. And his love of people in the travel industry moved him through different management positions in the company, operations, product development, and sales. And then 12 years ago, along with his business partner, Gary Biddle, they purchased the touring division of the company. And as a Receptive tour operator, Atlantic Tours presents Atlantic Canada to the world. And he serves as president and, more importantly, as director of fund for the company. And during his years in the industry, he served on many, many committees and advisory boards, and a big influence in directing and changing the industry, and including 7 years on the board of Discover Halifax for as treasurer. And he also served 11 years on the board of the Travel Alliance Partners TAP, where he's currently serving as president. So great to have you here this morning. Welcome, Richard. And next we have Maria Matthews. And Maria, again, a true veteran in the industry, 29 years tourism experience in the areas of tour operation, destination management, airline and hotel management, and has served on numerous boards of directors in various roles over the years. Maria holds a BA and a Master's of Business Admin in Tourism and Hospitality Management, and is completing her PhD in Tourism Management at the University of Brighton. She's the owner of Vision Atlantic Vacations, a Receptive tour operator and a tour wholesaler or tour operator, selling Atlantic Canada to both international travel trade and direct to consumers, with its main market being the UK market on the Receptive side and North America on the wholesale side. Vision Atlantic Vacations has been in operation since 1999 and has offices in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador. And in addition, Maria finds time to teach tourism at Mount St. Vincent University. Next, we have Franziska Fencillowan, born and raised in Germany. She started in the hospitality industry in 1987, completing an apprentice of a largely privately owned hotels in the Black Forest area of Germany. And a second degree at college focusing on tourism and hospitality, and that followed with a number of different positions in the hotel industry, and started with a tour operator specializing in Scandinavian vacations. And in 1998, she became a product manager of one of Germany's largest tour operators, and she held that position in 2007. So again, many, many roles looking at the tourism industry and the various partner roles that are played. Traveling all over Canada through that time, she fell in love with Canada, and in particular with the Maritimes in Nova Scotia. And so since 2007, Franziska has been working with Canavac Travel Services, a Receptive tour operator based in Chester, Nova Scotia. So that is our panel today, who are going to enlighten us and guide us and share their expertise. And so what I'd like to do now is turn it over to each of the panelists to give you a little more information on their company, kind of their philosophy and their direction. And I would like to welcome Jill Curran to start the discussion.
Thank you so much for inviting me here this morning. I should first note that I'm in my office and it's surrounded by windows and the sun's come out. So I'm going to get progressively redder as the session goes on. It's like I'm in a physical oven here at the moment. I can't pull down the blinds while we're on screen. Thank you so much. I have owned Maxim Vacations since 2010, but the company has been around for 30 plus years. And we operate throughout Atlantic Canada. We primarily focused on FIT and small custom groups, and we are a Receptive tour operator, but largely function as a tour operator. We do sell escorted products, and we work with wonderful partners such as Richard to be a seller of those products to our clients as well. Our primary market is the domestic Canadian market, and with that, we also focus on the U.S. market as well. In terms of the U.S. marketplace, we find Northeast U.S. is kind of a key area of a customer base for us. We certainly concentrate a lot of our marketing efforts in that marketplace. For the past 8 years, we've attended the New York Times travel show and see a lot of interest. And certainly when Come From Away opened, we saw that interest in terms of, just awareness of us as a destination and interest in traveling here completely spike. And as a result, had seen, a lot of growth in that marketplace in particular. As Eva mentioned, previous to owning Maxim Vacations, I still own another business called Lighthouse Picnics. And for many years, as Lighthouse Picnics, just from when we initially started, worked with wonderful partners that you see here on the screen. So we've always, as Lighthouse Picnics, Travel Trade was some of the first adopters of us as a product. We were a completely new company out there in an old abandoned lighthouse with this crazy product, and had no marketing budget, no advertising budget, and how would people find out about us? And Travel Trade partners that you see here on the screen today were one of the first ones that kind of came and were able to launch our product to a bigger marketplace. So I actually have been a supplier to Travel Trade partners for many years, and then when the opportunity arose, purchased Maxim in 2010. So I'm delighted to have this opportunity to share our stories with you today about our businesses and where we see us all working together to definitely grow this amazing product and this amazing industry that we have in Atlantic Canada. So thank you, and I look forward to our conversation today.
Super, thank you so much, Jill. And Richard, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to see all of my On the Road family out there and on with me today. As you've all rolled in, many of you currently work with Atlantic Tours. Hard to believe Atlantic Tours has been in business for over 50 years. And I always say I've only been there 34. Actually, Mother's Day last week was my anniversary. So I'm now into my 35th year and started off in the hotel business. It's hard to believe that those years have passed by so quickly, but Atlantic Tours has been on the ground here, worked very hard at bringing the world to see Atlantic Canada. I always say that's our bread and butter. And as we work through the process, even getting ready for today, we're really a receptive operator. That's the majority of what we do. I thought about it last night, even our guaranteed departure trips, because our biggest business is Receptive in the fact that we work with companies all over the world, predominantly US and Canadian companies from a receptive perspective that will reach out to us to be the backbone of their potential business coming here. But, we offer our guaranteed departures that run every week, which I often consider myself a tour operator in that realm. But in reality, we're largely a receptive operator because I look at who's speaking with me today. This group of people that are wonderful and represent the industry so well here in Atlantic Canada, they're my largest customers. They're certainly in my top 10 customers out there. And largely they're selling into my guaranteed departure trips. So that gives you the opportunity, the level of what a receptive operator actually does. And a little bit later, I will dig into that quite a bit more. But to me, the messaging I'm going to talk about today is really collaboration, partnership, and strategy. And so as we think about what Atlantic Tours does, the other things that we do, which are on a smaller scale, is we take people from here to see the world. And once again, getting ready for this, that's certainly less than 10% of our business, but it's an opportunity. We've done it for a long time. And in fact, if I go through the company history, a portion of our company when it started was just doing outbound, and another portion of the company was just doing inbound. Two separate companies that collaborated, decided to merge and work together. So you'll see that coming back, like all of us here on the panel. We've collaborated and we've worked together and have done it very successfully. So with that said, we also do step-on guide services for companies. Once again, a very small part of our business. We're a destination management company, largely specializing in tour and travel, which we do here predominantly in the city of Halifax. We also service some custom groups that arrive on the cruise ships. And we also have a small segment of our company that specializes in student travel or educational travel. Once again, the majority of our business, 80% of it, would be the receptive and our guaranteed departures that happen every week throughout the process. So that's kind of gives you a background on us. There's many companies out there that don't currently work with us that we'd love to work with, and that's the hope in our conversation today, knowing what a receptive operator is all about and what happens with that. But Atlantic Tours here on the ground, to give you an idea, we've not talked a lot about the current situation, but Atlantic Tours in 2020, just to give you some perspective, our sales were 1% of 2019. So this industry has been decimated, hit very hard, and we plan to be here. So that's why we're all here today, is to work through our current situation, and no better time to talk about collaboration. So thank you, Eva, and look forward to more conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. And Maria, I invite you now to share a little bit more on Vision Atlantic.
Hi, as we're progressively getting down the line, I'm going to keep mine shorter because Jill and Richard have said a lot of what I'm going to say, so I won't repeat myself. So basically, we've been in business since 22 years now, and I emigrated as a very young, fresh-faced, naive girl from the UK, but I wasn't naive in the sense of my industry experience. I came straight from university to the airline industry, then into the tour operation. So actually, my clients in the UK, when I emigrated to Canada and I immigrated to Newfoundland and Labrador, as I say, because I was there for 15 years, my clients who were once my competitors in the UK became my clients. So I was very fortunate to hit the ground running when I emigrated 22 years ago. So I specialize in Atlantic Canada only. We don't sell any other province within Canada. And I primarily focused in the FIT market and small group business. And our main clientele is actually out of the UK, with other scattered companies in the rest of Europe as well. We have a bit of a mix because my Receptive business, which is, as I said, predominantly UK focused, is 70% of my business. And the other 30% of my business is North American as a tour operator or tour wholesaler, because we currently do work with travel agencies and direct to consumer as well in the North American market. So the other thing that we do and have been doing for the last 3 years is expanding into educational trips. So that's bringing in predominantly from the Chinese market into Atlantic Canada for university tours, for parents coming in to scope out which universities they're going to visit, because we have such an abundance in Atlantic Canada. So really that's my main business model. So over to Francie.
Super. Thank you so much, Maria. And yes, Francesca, we'd love to hear a little bit more about Canavac.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I think I was muted.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So thank you. And I keep it short as well, because like all of you, I can only agree to what all of you already said. Maybe a bit in a nutshell what we are doing. So Canavac Travel is a 100% receptive tour operator focusing only on the independent traveler. So we do not offer any group trips. Our primary market is Europe. I'd say like 45% of my clientele is German speaking. That does include Switzerland and Austria. That's very often forgotten that we have more than just Germany. There are more German speaking countries in Europe. And but we also have clientele from North America and from Australia. Most of our clients are empty nesters, and the beauty of these clients are they have time. So the average trip with us is 16.5 nights, which is a good amount of time they are spending here in the Maritimes or Atlantic Canada. And they are willing to spend the extra $1 for an upgraded room, like booking the ocean view room instead of just the standard room. While being based in Nova Scotia, of course, our focus is on Atlantic Canada. However, over the years, we have added Quebec and Ontario to our portfolio. So you will see clients who are coming from Ontario, who are coming from Quebec. And I think especially with New Brunswick, Quebec is a natural link, the Gaspésie, the St. Lawrence River. And yeah, we are in business since 34 years now. And I think that's us in a nutshell.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Juanita, I'm going to ask you to pop up the next slide, just as before we get Francesca to give us a little more information on how the model works. And so here's the travel trade distribution system. And you've heard the term now a few times, receptive tour operator. And we've got each of our partners here all focus on being a receptive tour operator. And Atlantic Tours and Maxim Vacations also indicated that a big chunk is a tour operator. So as a supplier, you know, working with a receptive tour operator who then works with the tour operator, and they will have gotten business direct or through a travel agent. So this is an outline of the model, which we'll be referencing throughout the conversation today. And if we could just take a look at the next slide, Juanita. And so as we're looking at, you know, how the whole model works, it's a commission-based model, but for that commission, there's so many benefits that you get. And so we're going to start off with a question for Francesca, looking at the model itself. And we want to start off, Francesca, can you tell us a little bit about some of the key benefits of working with a receptive tour operator, like yourself and the others represented here on the panel this morning?
Yes, I try to keep it as short and simple as I possibly can, but we had the discussion earlier where I said, yeah, and you said that too, that at the end of the day, it's a commission-based business or service we do offer. That means we are selling something, in that case, an activity, an excursion, a hotel room on your behalf. And once we have successfully sold your service, we get a commission back from you. But to summarize the benefits, I think we can be your entrance gate to the international market. We can help you to be successful on those markets you'd love to work with, but you have no connections with, you don't know them well, or what I also think might be key for many of the smaller operators, you simply don't have the time to look into those markets. We all know how labor intensive tourism is, how much work we all have to put into our businesses, and sometimes very important things such as marketing are falling completely off the table because you simply don't have the time to do that on top of everything you need to do. So leave that to us. And again, the important point is, to me, you're not paying anything up front. It's a commission-based model. We are getting a commission from you once we have sold your product successfully. And the other advantage or benefit is we all know the markets we're working with very well. I'm using Maria as an example. Maria is born and raised in the UK. She knows that market by heart. She can give you the lead. She can give you guidance, what the clients out of the UK market, what their needs are. I am born and raised in Germany. I can do the exact same thing for the German-speaking market, because even though these markets are all Europe, there are quite huge differences between the clients. So a client from the UK is traveling completely different than someone, let's say, from the Netherlands or from Germany or from Switzerland. So we can help you with that, and we provide guidance. And the other big benefit, in my opinion, is please regard us as a one-stop shop. You sell through us. We handle all the bookings. We handle all the communication. In our situation, I speak German. I handle the language barrier, which might be there. We handle all the payments. So instead of working with, I think Germany has like 50 or 60,000 travel agents. You cannot work with all those. We filter that down, and you have us as your main partner, and we are doing all the payments. We are doing all the negotiations with the overseas partners. You do not have to worry about all this. And my last important point is, keep in mind that especially for the international market, the overseas market, the trade is mandatory. So most other markets, the clients are going through the trade. They are going through a travel agency. They are not booking online. They are booking packages we help them to design those packages. So I said earlier, the average trip with us is 16.5 nights. That means if I'm buying a hotel room from you, you are just a tiny part of that puzzle. We design that, we help them to design all these packages to match all the services which are booked. And this is one of the main reasons why the client is using a travel agent, to have that kind of guidance and the advice. And they won't book all these elements individually through, let's say, the hotels directly, through a whale-watch company directly. Plus, and again, that's a very European thing, if you buy through a travel agency in Europe, it's by its legislation, you get additional protection. Your money is protected in case of a bankruptcy. It goes even that far that the tour operators have to fly you home in case of a natural disaster. So you buy a lot of peace of mind through the tour company as well. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of clients still use travel agents. And so if you want to be successful on those markets, you have to use the trade, and we are your gateway to the trade.
Great, fantastic. Thank you so much, Francisca. I'll now invite Maria, if you would like to add anything to that, and maybe you can talk a little about the length of stay of an international traveler versus domestic. So Maria, I'll pass that to you.
Yes, and similar to what Franzi said, was obviously the UK is very similar to Germany. Our clients are empty nesters as well. They're usually within that 45 to 70 age group, and they have disposable income. They're well educated, they stay longer, they spend more than domestic travelers and resident travelers. So therefore, half the challenge that we have over the years is clients have money to spend in their pocket because they want activities, they want excursions, they want to be able to spend their money in the destination on authentic product. So for us, the UK market, I'm passionate about that because that's my background, that I spent many years working in that sector. So, of course, we're the closest country as Europe to this area. So we're not even long haul anymore, we're mid haul. So that's why we really need to tap into that. And while we're talking, about, we're not going to be talking, we are going to be talking about COVID, but obviously you've heard in the news that the UK is nearly all vaccinated in the UK. The second shot round is now happening now. The government is now opening up the UK in June, and citizens don't have to wear masks from that period. So if we're talking about countries that are ready to maneuver once our borders are opened up, obviously the UK market is going to be critically important to the recovery in Canada because it's one of the most important overseas destinations for not only Canada, but for this region.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Maria. Jill, would you like to add anything to that?
On mute.
We all had $1 for every time we heard unmute this year. We did rich, so sorry about that, folks. I just wanted to add that Franzi and Maria truly have covered, a lot of the benefits and reasons, why receptive tour operators and why it is good to work with partners such as us, because we bring you customers that may not find you otherwise. As I noted, we operate largely in the domestic marketplace, both in Canada and in the US marketplace. And it is true that when you're working with companies such as ours and we're designing the programs and the packages that we are presenting to clients, there is a longer stay. So even in our domestic itineraries, our average stay is about 12 nights. So these are people that, want kind of the ease of having a program that outlines all of the things, and we've done the homework and we have the relationships that they feel confident that we've kind of been their their go-to on the ground and checked out that all these things that we say can happen in the order that can happen as we promise, and a very high satisfaction rate when you see clients come to RTOs and travel trade tour operators such as ourselves. So I just wanted to add that piece to it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jill. And Richard, anything you'd like to add to that as far as benefits of an RTO?
I certainly would, and I think I'm probably the best poised here to give an example of Atlantic Tours. Our market is selling through resellers of travel, so our whole focus is on selling to those that resell travel. So the example I wanted to give here is that as a tour operator here, a Receptive tour operator, we have our guaranteed departures that run throughout the season. So with that in mind, I need to come up with a strategy in collaboration to make that work. And I always use the example as we're kind of a consolidator for a lot of the larger companies out there in the world that, may be able to run a tour in the West every 2 days or every 3 days or every day. But here in Atlantic Canada, their numbers are much smaller. And so they need that kind of presence. And so they reach out to a company like mine and send me 2-3 people every week, and I consolidate those 2 and 3 people together. So the examples of the partners I have here with Maria, Jill, and Francie, they all sell into my guaranteed departures. They also provide me with group quotes as well, because we're the group tour expert. But I want to go through a little bit of what happens. So basically, being a Receptive, I'm looking for 30% net from you, or the 30% commission. We want to talk in that world. And often that scares people away. Why would I do that? Well, Atlantic Tours does not have the money to go direct to consumer. That's why we choose to go through resellers of travel. To become a household name, we just don't have the funds to do that. So by working with other companies, they work through their channels. So when Jill works with me and I give her a net rate, I need to give her at least 20%, because then she's going to be either selling to a travel agent where she's going to have to give 10 or 12% away, leaving her with 8 to do everything that she has to do. In a lot of cases, Jill might be working with another tour operator. If she's working with another tour operator, she may have to give closer to the entire amount away. So I'll use the example of Atlantic Tours. Often our partners are getting our tours at cost or below cost. And everyone says, well, why would you ever do that? It doesn't make any sense. Well, as a group tour operator, we all know what we have for fixed cost. I would say all of you that are listening today, you know what it costs to run your hotel, regardless if you have anyone in it or not. You know what it takes to run your museum or your restaurant. And I think you need to think about, do you want to be part of the travel trade world? Can you be a silo? Can you stand alone and do it on your own? Do you have the funds to get to marketplace on your own? When I think back 34 years ago, when I was traveling with many of our suppliers that are listening today, our partners out there, we were thinking more in silos. We were out presenting to the world that way. But as the years have gone on, we recognize we're selling destination first and foremost. And if we're lucky enough to get people from the world to come here, then we're relevant. But also what's happened over the years, there used to be 20, 30 from each province out there waving the flag and flogging to the world to come here. Now it's been largely left to our departments of tourism or our destinations themselves. Many are sitting back. They don't have the funds to do that. Well, Atlantic Tours, as well as the group of the rest of us, all go out and resell in the world. And for that, so for example, if you're a hotel and you give us, your rate is $100, and you give us 30% of that, a discount of 30%, and it's down to 70, you're actually getting our expertise, you're getting our marketing strategy for $30. And if I'm lucky enough to bring you a whole group, that might turn into, the cost to you was $30 up to $700 or $800. Well, I don't know if you've done any advertising lately. That won't get you very far. So we bring a great ability to get your product to the world for very little money. And I think that's, an important discussion. As I said, collaboration, partnership, and strategy is what it's all about. And so, I don't market to the domestic traveler, because that's more Jill's domain. So she's out, she has the connections to the travel agent world. I'm working in the tour operator world. It doesn't mean that I don't have people find me. So for example, once again, why would it make sense for me to sell to someone at cost or less than cost? Because I'm a group tour operator, people will find me. Those that find me direct, I don't have to give anything away. The whole markup that I have is there. If a travel agent finds me, I only have to give them perhaps 10%. So to me, that's where my markup may not be what you're thinking it would be. As far as, do I need to mark up everything by 20 or 30%? Maybe not necessarily, because you have to look at your strategy within your company. How many customers within your business come direct to you? How many come through a receptive tour operator? How many come through a travel agent? And when you work out those percentages, that helps you build your pricing. And so at times you're going to be giving a receptive tour operator perhaps more than it appears makes sense. But if your hotels aren't full, if your restaurants aren't full, and if your attractions aren't full, then to me, you're crazy not to support travel trade. But we need something out there to make sense for us to be able to take it to marketplace. So that money you're giving us, those reductions you're giving us, are allowing us to bring you that world. And like I said, my big focus is largely US on my receptive side. And I do go to all the shows out there. I go to the American Bus Association, the National Tour Association, the Ontario Motor Coach Association. I'm active when I can afford it at WTM and some of the other shows. But one of the collaborations that have worked very well, in addition to the group here today, is the Corporation Travel Alliance Partners. Through that corporation, we've had partners come and go over the years, but I've had access to at least 50 American companies predominantly. The owners of that corporation are throughout Canada and the US. There's currently 3 Canadian owners. But through that process, we became the experts on the ground in Atlantic Canada. So what they would do is they would work with me to bring business here. But often all of us, including some of us around this table at one time, would have thought ourselves as competitors. Absolutely not. We are in collaboration together stronger. So to me, that has really moved our companies forward, because we all specialize in varying things. And like I said, these US companies that would have potentially tried to come on their own, in the end, they were all canceling trips, like I was canceling trips. So when I go to California to take an outbound group, I'll reach out to my partner there. They're on the ground. They have the buying power. They have the expertise. So that's what we really bring to the table. Sorry for rambling on there so long, Eva, but I'll stop at that.
Thank you so much, Richard. And you gave some really great examples on how the commission structure works, how each of the partners play into that. So thank you for that. I think that really added some clarity to that model.
Could I just add something very quickly?
Please, Maria.
I think this is a very important message. Thank you, Richard, for that wonderful insight. The other thing is that I'm thinking about now from my market, and we are typically, like pre-COVID, we would typically book much more further in advance than what consumers on the ground would. So basically now we're booking sometimes 18 months ahead. We're booking typically at least 12 months ahead. And I'm looking at 2022 now. And if you want to have a warm, fuzzy feeling, with this hope that we're back to some sort of normality in 2022, when one thing that's going to give that is when you see us as travel trade and the bookings that we will have on the books already for 2022 today that we want to get confirmed with you as soon as possible. So I think it's really important to understand the booking cycle and the timeline of when we as travel trade book with our suppliers.
Fantastic. Another great benefit. Thank you so much, Maria. And so Maria, I'm going to pass it on to you. I'm sorry. Whoops. Maria, I'm going to pass it on to you at this stage. So the question I have for you, leading this discussion for the panelists, is what are the greatest challenges you encounter in working with Atlantic Canada suppliers? So if you can shed a little light on that, and then I'll invite the others to add their comments as well. So I'll pass it to you, Maria.
Thank you. I think one of the biggest challenges, and it's never got any easier, I'm now in my 22nd year is rate collection. So basically we are, we have the arduous task of, I have over 500 suppliers, and every year we have to get rates for the following year. So usually what happens is between sort of January and June time is ideally when we're trying to request rates for 2022. Now, I've tried all sorts of things. I've tried from January to March in off season. I've tried from May to July in season to try and get rates. And to be honest, I cannot come up with the ideal strategy, because the reality is that many smaller operators really do not get back to us in a timely manner. So, we are really aggressively trying to get our tariff out for 2022. And again, we have to chase, probably no word of a doubt, probably 5, 6, 7 times to some suppliers to actually get rates for them. And it shouldn't be this hard as a travel partner to be able to do business. That hasn't changed in 22 years, and it's not got easier. COVID's actually made it worse, because we've had, obviously, some smaller suppliers are temporarily closed because of COVID. Some may be permanently closed. We're yet to understand the full impact of what that means for our products. The other thing is our larger hotels like products have sales managers who were once our contacts. We now can't get hold of them because of COVID. So the challenging piece of trying to get rates in a normal year is bad enough that COVID has impacted that well. Some solution to that I may offer is try and have your rates ready in April. If you decide you want to work with the travel trade, try and have them ready by at least April, May in a real world. But the reality is, if I try and get rates in season, then the suppliers are too busy to respond to me. I've tried the tactic, let's try off season, and they're either burnt out or they're sunning themselves in Florida, right? So they're not responding to my emails. Obviously, this is pre-COVID. So that's one thing I would say, try and get your rates, build it into your strategic plan of when you're going to actually get rates out to us in the travel trade, and be proactive in getting them to us rather than being chased. The other thing is maybe look at coming up with a strategy. I know Richard does this, trying to actually release rates in 2-year increments so that, you can release 2022 and 2023 to us. This makes us have a little sense of stability in the marketplace that we can then communicate that to our international clients, which would make it much easier for us all. The other thing I want to mention is having an online booking reservation system. Now, this doesn't have to be fancy. I've been out this game 22 years, and I can still say that there's many suppliers that are still operating out of a daily planner, which is quite frightening, really. In this day and age, when online reservation systems are very cheap, we're talking about a couple of, $50 a month to actually manage that inventory. And the reason is that we don't necessarily want to use that booking system. We would love to, but obviously it's quite challenging on the back end to try and build in commissions. But what we do need to do is to have access to online systems that allow us to check availability, because that could be the difference between us actually closing that sale or losing it to another destination. So that's really, really critical. And to Francie's piece, we don't just book one piece. We've probably got 16, 17 components of a travel package that we have to get confirmed and get back to the tour operator. And for myself in the UK, we have to respond within 48 hours. Which is built into our contract. So this is why it's very, very time sensitive. It's not Maria being her typically aggressive British self, deliberately riding you. We have tour operators that are demanding, because they've of course got to get in touch with their clients as well to get that confirmation done. So that's 2 things I really want to mention. The other thing is keep the communication open. If you upgrade a room, or you change from a queen to a king bed, or you've got a new breakfast menu, or you've decided to include, a welcome gift basket, keep those open lines of communication with us, because those little tidbits of information are things that we can put into our reservation system, so our reservation staff can communicate that back to our clients, because that could be the difference between closing the sale or not. So even in COVID, try and keep that communication, because it's really, really important to keep us one step ahead of the game. So really, they're my sort of tidbits of information, and some of the frustrations that I have of trying to operate and communicate with suppliers, whether they be small, medium or large. There is a whole spectrum of issues. So I really would appreciate suppliers thinking about that as we move forward.
Fantastic. Great advice, Maria. Thank you so much. Francesca, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd love to, because I can only agree with what Maria said, but I think the most important thing here is, first of all, understand our timeline. And we are not talking COVID or pre-COVID or after COVID. It is the nature of our business. Even without COVID, I would now need your rates. I'm now requesting your rates. That has nothing to do with COVID. And the reason why we are requesting the rates so early is we are always working pretty much at least 1 year ahead, because my tour operator partners overseas, they make their decision in June, what to feature in the coming year. So that means to me, by June, I have to have my programming, my tariff ready to be able to market it. Who hasn't delivered rates will not be part of my publication. That means it's much harder for me to promote, to market you, to bring you to market. Keep that in the back of the mind. And I'm happy to have that discussion to guide you through what is our timeline, why do we need the rates so early. And yes, I understand we are requesting the rates even before your season has started, but it also falls to me into that decision-making process. If you make the decision to work with a trade, it is a business decision. And if you make that decision and want to become our partner, I want you to understand that it is not my hobby. This is my profession. And I need you. I'm relying on you, because it is our name. Flo Canadvac is going out and market you. If we have a problem later on, it's falling back on Canadvac. And I do everything to keep our name clear and well recognized and in the industry, because this is my benefit. It's a brand. Canadvac is the brand I'm selling. And my tour operator partners, and we are talking about roughly 120 tour operator partners overseas, they trust the brand Canadvac. So if I have issues because I can't get rates, because I'm not getting the rooms I've been promised, then unfortunately I cannot work with you. So this is why it all comes back to me. It is a business decision. And the other thing Maria said that too is, I'm trying to collect rates from approximately 850 suppliers in Eastern Canada. And it does take me a while. Yes, I please want your rate in May, because that gives me a window of about 6 weeks to get everything ready by the end of June. And keep in mind, it's not just your rates. I have 849 others who are giving me rates. And be in your rate structure as clear as you can be, because with dealing with roughly these 850 partners, about, I would say, at least 780 are hotels. I don't know which one is your room number 1 and 2 and 3. Just name them. Standard Ocean View, that it's a little bit more obvious. Try to help us a little bit in our daily work. That this is what I'd love to add to what Maria had just said, but yeah.
Super, fantastic advice, Francesca. Thank you so much. Jill, I know you work with slightly different markets. Any challenge, or tell us about the challenges that you might encounter?
Well, I would echo the comments that have just been made. For us, as I said, it's a jigsaw puzzle. So the timely responses to a reservation is the best thing we can do, because we are moving, 30, 40 elements in one trip, be it you're meeting with a guide here, we need the car rental there, you're, having a private tour there, you're having a boat tour there. So all of these pieces have to fit together. So there's a huge amount of work that goes behind the scenes for the customer to have this seamless experience. And for us to present it in a timely way, we need all of those parts, as I said, working together. And the wonderful thing about all of us here on the screen is we are on the ground, we're local. So we can work with you, that if you're like, I don't have the Tuesday, Wednesday, but you could get the Thursday, Friday, we can massage things and make things work. But we need to know that, because it's all about managing client expectations. And if we can go to them quite early and say, I know you wanted to start in, this part of the province and end up there, but if we move it around, we can have you get all those, places that you want to see. And this, so we're constantly, as I said, putting the jigsaw puzzle together for our clients. But the quickest response time helps us kind of have a fuller picture to be able to work, because ultimately it is about making all of us look good. Your company, our company, us as a region to be represented very, very well, because we know, a huge part of all of our businesses, because we are local, is word of mouth. It is repeat and referral, and that is the best marketing that we can do and we can bring to you as suppliers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that addition to that. That was great. Richard, I'll pass it to you. Challenges that you might encounter as a buyer.
The only addition I would add, it's been well covered here, is that for us, we're generally looking for being on the group side as opposed to the self-drive or the independent side. We're looking for often 25 to 30 rooms, which adds a new challenge. But we also are even earlier. For example, I need everything. My general goal is December 31st of the previous year. So I need everything for 22 ready for December 31st, so I can get it to my great partners here with me and my partners around the world, because they need that lead time to get it in their brochures, et cetera, et cetera. So right now, oddly enough, we are concluding our 23, trying to prepare for the end of this year to have our 23 all ready. And you'll be in the coming weeks. Yesterday, I already determined our guaranteed departure dates for 24. That's how far out we're requesting space. Now, we know we may not always get the rates that we need, but we still have to be working that direction to get space. The other thing, collaboration, once again. You're on the ground in the communities. You know and work with us and love us. And I always say, if we think in silos, that's what we'll get. If we think collaboratively, if the hotel down the street has rooms and you don't, and we can't move, lots of times it's a cog in a wheel. As we've stated, we've got 20, 30 different components. We're packagers. And sometimes a lot of our partners create a calendar, and that calendar dictates when their tour is going to happen. And so we may not have a choice. And so to me, if you know someone in your area that does have availability, it'll come back in spades. It will all work around. If we can't go with you this time, you can help us lead to someone else that might have rooms for us. So, on the group side, it's all about filling in those gaps. And, we rejig, change itineraries, different directions to try to accommodate when a group arrives. And so, like I said, if you can be part of the solution there. The other thing is, we're always looking for new partners, new things to add. But as Francie said, if you're not in the game, if you're not interested in being in the game, just let us know. We're grown-ups. We don't want to be chasing you if you don't need our business. So, those kind of things. Like, I'll use the example. I would prefer choice. I don't really want to do city tours when I'm in Halifax. I'd rather people get out and explore on their own and choose what they want to do. But out of necessity, I do those kind of things. Same as, running wine tours. That's not my specialty, but we can certainly do it. But I would rather work with someone. But if you can't provide us with the assistance that we need we can't continue to offer great attractions and great hotels that don't compensate us. We, at the end of the day, we have to take your product and mark it up for us to be able to distribute it. And, we continue to support the industry out there when a lot of you aren't looking at us in that same respect. So, think about it. We don't have any problem. Let us know if that's not of interest to you. But I always say, unless you're full, there's a place for receptive operators in your mix.
Super. Thank you so much, Richard. And so, Richard, I'm going to pass it to you at this point. We've got about a half hour left, so hoping we can keep this discussion to about 10 minutes so we get a good opportunity for some Q&A at the end. So, Richard, you've talked a lot about partnerships and collaboration. So I think this question is absolutely perfect for you to start. When you think of the best supplier relationships, what elements stand out for you? So what makes a great partner?
Once again, being collaborative and communicating, all of those things are a huge part of it. And I'm going to cite a few examples and point out a few companies that we work very closely with. The Cambridge Suites Hotel on our guaranteed departure is our hotel in Halifax. It's our front line. Our guests will see the hotel before they ever see us when they arrive. And so when we chose that partner, I should back up a little bit. As a company, we don't jump around. We never have. We, tend to be in for the long term. We only move if we have to. It's all about relationship building. So, for example, when the Citadel Halifax Hotel was torn down, we had no choice but to move our series. So with that said, we looked hard and there was lots of great choices. We work with many partners on our guaranteed departures. Now on a Receptive side, we use every hotel that we can possibly use in the area, but for our series, we need the same stability throughout the week. But we chose a hotel that is our front line. So in working with them, and the best example I can give, there's often things that happen from our partners out there. There may be a company that has a reservation that never made it to Atlantic Tours. Maybe it got misplaced or lost in cyberspace. But many times we have customers arrive at the front desk to go on one of our tours that they weren't on the rooming list. The Cambridge Suites doesn't make a deal. They give the people a room. It's all seamless. They reach out to us and say, we've got a client that arrived that wasn't on our list, as opposed to saying at the desk, we don't have a reservation for you. So, those are the kind of things that we're looking for, special things in that relationship. Another longtime partner would be Rod Hotels, Lori McDonald. I mean, she gets back to me, she follows up, she, gives me other options, other alternatives. I mean, she's great in that respect, but she's got a large portfolio of offerings. But I mean, she never just sits back. She's there reaching out. She will say to me, Richard, there's companies starting to reach out for their 24 space. I know you always come on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, whatever the case may be, and I don't want to give up your space. You've been a long-time partner. Those things mean a lot. I don't want my competitor overseas taking the space that I've provided to you for 30 years. All of a sudden, my nights are no longer available. So those are those special relationships. Another one that stands out in Newfoundland is the Shallow Bay Motel with Daryl. I mean, we've been going there for 20 years or more. And when I started off spending more time building longer itineraries, our traditional itineraries were a week long. Now they're all 2 weeks long. As going back to the conversation we had earlier, 13, 14 night programs. We started off with only giving him one group. That relationship has grown strategically over the years. We love working with that property. And there's one in every province, New Brunswick, the Crown Plaza. So, I mean, those things stand out when the relationships there, the flexibility, all of those kind of things mean a lot. But I always think in addition to the importance of those relationships, we need you to be considering things that are a challenge for us. We can't pay deposits. Our customers aren't in the business to do that kind of stuff. So a deposit has to come out of a receptive operator's pocket generally, as opposed to the company we're working with. The same as attrition clauses. In the tour operator world, people are not going to give you money until they can guarantee the group is going to come. And so we need all of those things in your thinking when you're going to work with travel trade. We need integrity pricing. If I'm going to work with you and build a program, and we need that lead time, we're talking a year in advance, et cetera, and we've already talked about the little bit that is contributed through the reduction rate that allows us to go out and solicit business, but we look very bad when we build a program and the customer can go to you and get it cheaper. So to me, you need to think about all of that in your pricing strategy. Atlantic Tours does not discount our tours because I can't undersell Maxim or Francie or Maria with Vision. But I think often I'll have customers call me and say, I can buy it cheaper from Cape Cod Custom Tours in the US than I can buy it with you. I have a collaboration partnership with them that once again, they get special pricing from me. And so I'm not going to give their customer a rate that doesn't make sense because I can't undermine my partner, my customer. So all those things need to be really considered. And I'm looking down my list of things I didn't want to leave out as far as, setting the expectations when you're staying at a property. If you're giving me run of the house and we got a group coming week after week, if it's run of the house, don't give everyone the parking lot view. It needs to be a partnership in that way. We can't have our guests on the group side being treated differently than regular guests staying at the hotel. When it comes to dinner, learn to take reservations if you don't take reservations. Today's world, they don't want to all come down and have chicken at 6. They don't want to pre-order 48 hours, 72 hours out. Your restaurants, your hotels, if they're full, have to be able to accommodate the guests. So why does a group guest change that? And if it's having 30 or 40 people arriving the same time as the challenge, then work with me. I have a restaurant background. I will work with you to show how you build a reservation model that allows people to be grown-ups. We will say to our guests, we like to give you choice in dinner times and offerings. Some people like to have a cocktail. Some people like to come early. But with that said, we say if you all march down at 6, the service is going to be terrible. So I will often reach out myself and have my tour managers create an environment of making reservations at your properties. Tours and people traveling today don't want a buffet every morning for breakfast. They don't want, if you're in Newfoundland, they don't want a partridge berry tart every night for dinner. We need to work that structure out as a tour operator. We're trying to find flexibility in our menu. So the more choices we have, the better position we are to offer our customers a quality product. So keep all of those things in mind. We'll work with you on that. We recognize you need to prepare the amount you might need. We don't want you throwing stuff out needlessly, but on the other hand, if you had a full hotel full of guests and they all came down to dinner, there's nothing wrong with saying I ran out of salmon as well if too many people are choosing it. So, to me, it's a matter of there's times for choice and there's times when we get together where we need a private space and the choices will be less. Let's see if there's anything else here. It's just a matter of that whole approach to the group business. You need to, think about it in your strategy once again.
Great, thank you, Richard. You gave some great points from an operational perspective and showcasing your diverse background as well, and working together, and really that partnership and collaboration piece keeps coming up. I'll invite our other panelists to add any comments of the really great supplier partner relationship. Anything that you would add over and above to what Richard's indicated? I see that you're unmuted, Francesca. Do you want to add something there?
Yeah, I'd love to add one point, but I think Richard touched it as well. It's all about loyalty and communication. We are here if anything happens. If a client of ours arrives and you have the feeling he or she is unhappy, give us a quick call. We have partners doing that. They call us and say, listen, your clients just arrived and they seem to be completely unhappy. And sometimes they tell you what's wrong. And I'm always saying, if I learn what's wrong, I can fix it. If I learn 3 months later, I can only apologize, but I hardly ever can fix it. So communication to me is key. Whatever happens, if you are unhappy with what we are doing, with another piece of reservation, with communication, let us know immediately, because we are seeking long-term relationships with you. We are as Richard said, we are not jumping around. Year one, we're working with you. Year two, we are working with somebody else. No, we are seeking long-term relationships that we can grow together. I think that's all I wanted to add to this.
Fantastic addition. Thank you so much. Great. Anything else? Okay, so that covered it really well. It's really, you know, it's a two-way partnership. You're in this together for the long haul. So figuring out how to work together, you know, and looking at right down to, you know, the little extras and the operational aspects. Great conversation in there. Thank you.
Well, Eva, one thing I just want to throw in there is that, you know, it's not blaming someone. That's an important thing. You know, there's often those, it is that collaboration and partnership for sure, but it's also, it's about the customer. I'll use the example. Every one of our tours, we have a comment sheet that goes out to the customer. We still do it the old-fashioned way rather than the electronic, because when we do it the old-fashioned way, we get 100% return. And every component of every one of our trips is evaluated. And I often say to our in-house people here, when you're in busy season, often things that could be corrected aren't communicated back to our suppliers on our end. It's too late telling them at the end of the year that breakfast has been a problem. If breakfast hasn't been a problem. So I always say in that partnership, it's also us not always communicating. And if you ever want to know how you're scoring, every one of our components is scored, and we get, you know, I say 100% return, but it's at least 98% return from every one of our customers. So if you're ever wondering where you're scoring, you know, we do have that there. But, you know, I'll take responsibility that sometimes we're not communicating until it's too late. So once again, communication, collaboration. But those are important things you need to know. The worst customers we have are the ones that don't tell us and just don't come back.
Thanks so much, Richard. Nice addition to that conversation. Thank you. So Jill, we need your crystal ball at this point, so we're going to have you launch this discussion. So what are your predictions in relation to inbound travel once restrictions have lifted?
Yeah, I'd love to share my thoughts on that, but I had to pick up on something Richard said, and I think the theme so far this day has been about relationships and about collaboration. And, you know, none of us as tour operators, the Atlantic bubble isn't our clientele. So essentially, we've been working since the start of COVID with no customers, but we have not stopped working because we have relationships with our suppliers, and we have very, very solid relationships with so many of our clients. So some of these people have been moved several times already, and you'll have seen the confirmations come through and change as the situation has changed. We've been there for our clients every step of the way. And the comment that has come back from so many of our clients is, you have been there. We know you're on the ground. We know you're local. We know you're always picking up the phone. You're always there for us. So I think part of my prediction about the future has been what is essentially the beauty of working within our industry in Atlantic Canada, that we really are all in this together. And I think as we look, and I've said this so many times, if our natural assets and our iconic, you know, scenes had a stock price since the start of this pandemic, it soared. People are absolutely wanting what we have and more of it. I mean, natural beauty, big open spaces, small community, small population, sense of community. All of those things, I think, absolutely, as we come through the pandemic, we will be poised for great things in our industry. We are going to be probably busier than we ever have thought possible. But it's been a long bridge to get from here to there. And all of us as an industry, you know, we've faced unbelievable challenges. I mean, it is absolutely devastating what it has done to so many of us in this industry. But we're down, but we're not out. And we have to stay the course of, you know, ensuring that what we bring to the table is going to be there even better as we come through this pandemic. I've been taking part of a lot of different seminars, both with some of our American travel agents and UK and just international. And I mean, you know, really what has come up more and more and more is that there will be longer stays, which benefits us all. There may be less city stays as a theme going forward in travel. People absolutely want to travel. They cannot wait for travel to resume. There is a pent-up demand for travel. We all know that. The importance of companies such as ourselves and what we've been able to do with our customer relationship has been that flexibility of meeting people where they are, of meeting our suppliers where they are, and all of us kind of working together in that collaborative pieces. Every one of us, I hope you've heard today, the passion that comes through all of us. And when we're talking about our product and what we do, our businesses are personal extensions of our personal values and the things we love about this place. This is our home. This is in all of our best interests to put our best foot forward every day with every client communication, with every supplier communication. It is absolutely who we are. So I think, we're going to see travel rebound in a very, very big way for us as a region. And I think, as I said, with customers, we've had to be flexible, and as suppliers, we've had to be flexible. So I think those are some things that I think going forward, clients are going to want to have more flexibility because, we're all have known this past year has taught us that what, today sometimes isn't what's going to be the case tomorrow. So I think clients will be looking at things from a very, they like the working with local, they like to know that you have connections in the community and you're going to be there for them, but they also want you and require you to be flexible in working with them to ensure that they get the trip that they want. So those are some thoughts I have. I don't know if that answers your question fully, or if others would like to join in to that conversation piece as well, that topic.
Well, Jill, one of the things I wanted to point out is you, along with the four of us, or all four of us, have worked tirelessly, not only in our own companies, to try to keep the business that was on the books coming for 20, that was coming for 21. Because this untold story is that, we're pretty much finished for 21 as well as tour operators. That's just the nature of how our business works. And the booking timeline is normally between October and April for the year that is coming up. So we've been decimated in that respect, but we've worked very hard behind the scenes and keep telling anyone that'll listen at a federal or provincial level the importance of us and the industry. And, we continue to say we own nothing. We are resellers of other people's components in our packages. We need the restaurants to be open, the museums to be open, all of those, the hotels to be open. That's an important part of the cog when business does come back. And so we've been really working hard as a group to provide the numbers to showcase how much we bring to the local economy. And the other thing we've pointed out, as we've all said, we are local. We're on the ground here. We have a stake in this. We bring the world here. That's very important to us. But as the world rebounds, the challenge will be they go where the profit is first. And a lot of those larger companies may not come here immediately until they rebuild their bread and butter. And so, we need the support of our government to bridge that gap. Our companies have been living on what we made in 2019 to bridge this gap. And fortunately or unfortunately, we don't fall in a lot of categories because we've never been mandated to close, but we have, because the world is closed to coming to Canada and the rest of Canada has been closed to coming to Atlantic Canada. So all of those things we continue to speak about and work hard as a group to try to get a reopening strategy. And we've sent that out to the powers that be. And I've spent yesterday getting it out to my MLA and my MPs to try to get that messaging. So we would encourage all of you to help us with that messaging. We need help to bridge the gap to when the business will really return for 2022. None of us really have a domestic base. I guess I'd be the best example of having some domestic base, but my domestic base I take to see the world. So to try to reposition them to use me locally has really not worked. You know, they don't look for me for that. So those are all some of the outcomes that I just wanted to throw in there, Jill, just so that the group here knows how much effort we've put into that.
No, it has been a huge amount of effort, and we've all been working tirelessly to champion all of the points that you mentioned. We as Maxim are heavily based in the Canadian domestic marketplace, so we know we feel that we all have to be trying to get open, and Dr. Tam has put out that, you know, model that the summer with that 75% of us with one shot, and even the Prime Minister, you know, spoke to that one shot summer the other day, that the Deputy Prime Minister has talked about a preloaded stimulus in Canada. Canadians need to encourage Canadian travelers to stay within our country this year and support our businesses. So you're right, as we stretch out, the international and the longer range things are definitely 2022. But I really think as an industry, we need to encourage our domestic travelers and our governments to recognize that domestic traveler can do so much for us as an industry. You know, here there is an extra $120 billion, I think CIBC says, in the Canadian bank accounts. They're not in this screen. They're not in our industry. We know that. We know that. But some Canadians out there are sitting on a lot of money, and we need to, as you know, the marketing is going from the inside out. We need to encourage all of our local community and our domestic Canadian community to support our tourism businesses and give us that lifeline that will make sure that we will be there and be ready to be the economic pillars we know we can be in our communities.
And Jill, I would be lax not to thank our suppliers on board here today that have, you know, worked with us to roll all those times. And, you know, a lot of our customers, as we've rolled them, are expecting our pricing to stay the same as when they booked. And so many of our partners have agreed to do that. So thank you very much for helping us keep those customers coming.
Okay, fantastic. We're nearing the end, and we've got a few people really anxious to ask some questions. But just before we wrap this final question, and thank you so much for that, Jill and Richard, so far. Anything we wanted to add, Francie or Maria? Okay, great. So let's go to some questions.
Okay, the first one, can accommodation operators and tour companies provide the RTO with a rate code that provides the pre-negotiated rate automatically when booking in my online system, especially if hard to provide an allotment when the allotment is full, but then you can search availability and book with a special code?
Richard, you're not, Francesca, great. You've got, you want to respond to that? Perfect.
Yeah, so the answer for and I'm now replying for Canada, we are not using online booking systems. As Maria said earlier, it's nice to check on availability as long as we know that we can get the rooms when they are available. Keep in mind that a lot of partners do revenue management. That means we as an RTO are not getting every available room. So, but if we have that confidence, then we can use it as a tool to check on availability. However, we do have our own reservation system. So if I have to interrupt my own process, my working flow, by going out of my system, going into a third-party system, typing all the information in again and making that booking, that slows me down. So the answer is we are not using third-party systems as of now, because it would simply interrupt our working flow. And in non-COVID times, in high booking season, which is, we are making 75% of all our bookings between December and April, we have to be as fast as we can, and that would interrupt our internal working flow. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, great. That's a fantastic response from how your company operates. I'll put it out to Jill, Maria, and Richard. You know, how about third-party booking systems for you? Is it something you use? What do you think? Any advice to the suppliers in the room here today?
Well, from a group perspective, it generally does not work because we're looking for 20 or more rooms. So generally that, but I have used it only because, I mean, to me, it sometimes shows me where I might see some availability, but, you know, it's more of a helpful tool as opposed to, you know, once again, in every company's structure, they may only have so many rooms allotted for RTOs or tour operators, et cetera, et cetera. And generally our pricing is, I mean, we already have those contracts in place that we already know what our pricing is going to be. It's a matter if the space is available. So generally, you know, there's the other thing I guess I would throw in here is from a group perspective, if you no longer have group rooms available because of price point, sometimes it doesn't hurt to communicate that we do have rooms available, and this is the price that the rooms would be, because not every customer is a price conscious customer. So we may have that option on occasion to be able to secure those rooms, keep our customers happy. Because I mean, what ends up happening is, like I said, so many companies out there have a schedule already in play. And if we can't provide them the space when they need to come, they just go to a different destination that year. So, you know, it's a possible loss of business. So.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Anyone else want to add to that? Jill, do you want to, Maria?
Yeah, we use kind of you know, we kind of use a mixture of things. So some people like to give us a preloaded code that we can use online and populate it. But you know, the majority of our clients, we can massage their itineraries such that it can work. So oftentimes we look online to check the availability to make sure it all kind of lines up with everything. So we're kind of flexible in that we can use, you know, an individual's online booking system, provided we have some kind of code or recognizes our reservation as different, or if that creates a lot of headaches for some people's back end systems, our reservation request system, you know, I have to say, works really, really well. So people show up when they're supposed to show up, their room is ready, all those sorts of things. So we're willing to work with whatever people find best. But I guess a lot of times we are using it to check availability and different things like that. And as I said, can massage an itinerary to make it work. So it just depends on the individual supplier.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I'll just echo what Jill says. Ditto.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Maria. So I'm looking at the questions here, and I know we're running short on time, but I'm going to combine a couple of them. And Jill just spoke a little more to the comments that you made in your last question. And it was, are there any trends or specific product focus that you're looking for 2022 and 2023 when it comes to attractions or activities? And another one closely tied in, would there be time to get views on various market recovery timings? So I'm going to throw that. I'll start with you, Jill, because that tied into where you started, and then I'll throw it out to the others.
Yeah, well, as I kind of made in my comments, like I think actually where we were poised as an industry in terms of our product offering is very on point with what people want. So, you know, these kind of smaller group settings, you know, being able to do excursions with, you know, individual guides and working with local operators, you know, as I said, is definitely the way that I see a lot of clients wanting to book and go forward. So I think our outdoor hiking products, our culinary experiences, all of those things that have people doing more outdoor and kind of, you know, activities is completely on point. So I see that even growing more and more. I think the recovery, as I said, you know, I think it'll, you know, we're seeing our local staycation markets, you know, being being promoted right now, but we will see recovery in the domestic marketplace in Canada first, and then international will come. And you know, I'm watching, as we all are, closely about EU passports and even the conversations, you know, that are happening in the US and how that will go with our borders and things. So I'd be lying if I had said I had a crystal ball that knew, because it does seem that things change, you know, quite rapidly. But I take great hope in the amount of vaccines that are seemingly, you know, coming into this, you know, country and are just, you know, being distributed. And I think all of us as an industry have to be industry leaders, that the quicker we can get vaccinated and get our employees vaccinated and have our community vaccinated, the quicker we will all get back to business. So that is certainly, you know, messages coming from all of our chief medical officers provincially and also federally. So, so those are just some thoughts on that there.
Okay.
Others?
Well, the U.S. is completely open for business, and you know, as a tour operator here, it's distressing. You know, in our weekly meetings within my company, we have at least 10 groups from the U.S. You know, ready to come. They're full, sold out for this season. And asking, you know, when can they come? And so as we continue to cancel them because we're not open, it is certainly distressing. And the other challenge for us is because we're predominantly on the group side, you know, the challenge is if I do try to operate some tours in August or September, if that you know should be allowed, am I just losing more money? Because you know, obviously I need enough people to make that sustainable. And so to me, to transition them to perhaps a self-drive itinerary or those kind of things is where the best opportunities are. But you know, we're still hopeful. We've moved our some of our itineraries. You know, we've tried to concentrate on promoting here to the local market. You know, perhaps this is a great, you know, Newfoundland and Labrador is on everyone's bucket list, and often people put it off until later when they can't go other spots in the world. This is the time to do it. So we've been, you know, promoting that angle here locally, the same as every opportunity I get. I'm on Zoom pretty much every day. We've been running every Wednesday at 3. We call it Tea at 3 on Wednesdays to the consumers and to the resellers of travel to try to engage stuff here as well as away, you know, to keep that dream alive, that travel dream alive, and that we're willing to work with you. But, you know, that's the stuff that we've been doing to try to move forward.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. There's a couple of questions that we may not get to, but we will get to them afterwards. So we'll get you a response if you didn't get one here. One reoccurring question that's come up is, this all sounds great for some of the new suppliers. How does a new business that isn't working with you get connected, and other ways and other questions on how they can work with you. So recommend, because we've got a large group here today online. We've got over 200 suppliers. So start with your provincial marketing organization or your destination management or marketing organization. And they're going to help feed the information to the four RTO businesses and panelists we have on the call here today. And just wanted to wrap up by really, you know, looking at this group that you've got here brings the world to Atlantic Canada. From Europe, from US, from all other parts of Canada. And really it's about building relationships and collaboration. And I think you did hear the passion, you did hear the loyalty, you did hear the desire that this is not a one-time sales transaction. This is a long-term partnership. And the businesses here are looking to work with you in the long term. And the key word of communication came up over and over. So, you know, how can we work together? How can we make it easier? How can we figure out, commissions, and how can we figure out allocations and things together? And it really is about sitting down and figuring out how it works for both of you, because it's only going to work if it works for all the partners, the client coming to Atlantic Canada, the Receptive tour operator, and you as the Atlantic Canada supplier. And just want to recap by the commission piece. So we started with the commission piece. The commission piece is that small amount you're paying only when something has actually been booked or transacted, is you're paying for the expertise and knowledge of these companies that have been around for decades, that have the relationships, that have the market intel, And they then bring you customers that you would not have been able to attract on your own. So no different than you looking at marketing costs in other areas. That commission is really a marketing cost, and you're getting incredible international US and Canadian expertise to bring new visitors to your business. So I thank you so much for your participation, particularly Jill, Richard, Francesca, and Maria. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, your candidness, and your advice. And thank you to all the suppliers, those that are working with our receptors already or those that are interested in exploring it. Thank you so much for participating today. And Juanita, I'll pass it to you.
Great. Thank you, Eva, and thank you, panelists. And thank you all for attending this morning. And I would recommend, if we didn't get to your question, that you contact your PMO, your provincial marketing organization, and they can connect you or answer your particular question. And thank you all again, and we'll see you on our next event, and have a great day. Thank you.